Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Alec, and today I am going to be reading I Still Think You're Beautiful. And there will probably be some more chapters posted later on, so please be sure to subscribe and leave in the comments below if you want to see anything else from me. So let's jump right in. I Still Think You're Beautiful. Summary. Drarry, angst, fluff. Harry has PTSD and becomes withdrawn from everyone. Draco is the only one who can calm him down after a panic attack. Things seem to be running smoothly until Harry argues with a close friend. Chapter 1. Draco. I stared at the letter in my shaking hands, not quite believing the words printed effortlessly onto the page. Why would they want me back? I was a Death Eater. My father remains to be a Death Eater. Though he now is trapped in Azkaban, my mother was a Death Eater. I guess it runs in the family. My twisted, sick family. Panic rose from my stomach to my throat. I could barely breathe. How would I face everyone? No one would want to be there with me. At every moment they'd probably try to kill me. For some unknown reason, I found excitement in this. I wanted to go back, not just for my education, but to feel free for once. To not feel like I have to live up to my father's expectations. For once, I don't have to be a Malfoy. I can just be Draco. I wonder who else is going to return as 8th years. Will Potter? Probably not. But if he wanted to become an Aurora, then he needed to pass his exams. Why am I thinking this? Since when did I care about what Potter did? Oh yeah. Since then, when Potter saved me. Why did he save me? I was better off dead. Everyone else thinks so anyway. Does he think that? Does he regret saving me? He probably doesn't even think about me. Not in the way I think about him. I can conjure that day in my mind as if by magic. I think back to when I saw him lying seemingly lifeless in Hagrid's arms. I was paralyzed with emotion. I'd lost all hope. Not that I had any in the first place. And so I had no choice. I really thought he was dead. And so I went with my father, fearing for my life and the lives of my fellow students. And then I heard the screams of joy as my mother carted me away. Could it be? No. He couldn't have. This was Harry Potter after all. We had gone back to the Malfoy Manor, so I didn't have to find out until the ministry came to my house and arrested my parents. There had been a trial for my mother, at which Harry spoke, saying how Nerissa had lied to Voldemort because Potter told her I was alive. There was no trial for my father. He was sent straight to Azkaban. My aunt would have gone there too, but she was already dead. Molly Weasley killed her. I should really thank the Weasleys. Without them, I don't think Potter would be alive. Weasley had been such a good friend to Potter. What if he hadn't? What if Harry had chosen me at Madame Milkins? Our lives had been so different. They would have been so different from what they are today. I began to haul my old trunk from my closet. Blowing off the dust and clicking it open, I gathered my clothes, mainly the essentials, mostly in black. I grabbed the textbooks I had bought in advance and placed them on top of the clothes. I picked an extra book just in case. A Healer's Guide to Healing. I had quite envisioned myself as a healer, and I'd need it for all the attacks I would receive in my last year. I grabbed my shoes and left some sneakers out for tomorrow. I didn't have a pet, so I packed in a matter of minutes. I laid down on my bed, sighing as the mattress sunk in. I heard a knock at my door and sat up. My house elf, Winky, was at the door. She told me that my dinner was ready and that my mother was waiting for me downstairs. I walked aimlessly down the stairs and jumped off the last of the steps. I've always wanted to do that. I entered the dining room. My mother sat at the table, the head of the table. My place was next to her. In the past, my mother and father would sit at opposite ends of the table, me in the middle, as far away from each other as possible. But now things have changed. My life has changed. I have a chance of having an actual future, not being a Death Eater. My mother smiled as I sat down, breathing in the wondrous smells of the plate in front of me. My mother and I ate in silence. That was the one thing that hadn't changed yet. Before we'd eat, it in silent fear. And now there was just nothing to say. Once we both finished, I kissed her goodnight. Before I could leave, however, I felt her small hand reach into mine. Draco, please, stay for a while. It gets lonely. I turned my face to her and nodded. We both sat in the drawing room. This house was too big for just us. I sat on one of the sofas and picked up my sketchbook, which had been left there. I flicked to the front page, my first drawing. The dark mark. I sighed again as I skimmed through the book. There was a drawing of the vanishing cabinet and some of the great hall. I came to the last page before the blank one. It was a landscape drawing. Pretty good as I drew it from memory. It was Hogwarts courtyard. Rubble and debris everywhere. Hagrid holding Harry lifeless. He didn't move. Not that I expected him to. He was center of the page, though in my memory he wasn't. I chose to make him center. It felt good to choose for myself, even small things like this. I started to draw the fruit bowl in front of me, a bit mediocre but relaxing, the clock ticking away behind me. It was getting late, and I told my mother I wanted to go to bed. She stood up with me, saying she would go too. She said goodnight on the landing and I walked into my room and flopped gracefully onto my bed. I sat up, realizing I still had my clothes on. I started to undress, grimacing at the sight of my arm. I changed quickly and laid on my bed on the covers. I didn't mind the cold, but sometimes I would think it would be nice to feel a bit of warmth. That night, I dreamt of what could be waiting for me at Hogwarts. I dreamt of Potter. Chapter 2. Harry. I wake up screaming. Like most nights, I'm used to it now. Used to being alone, being scared, wishing it could all go away. I grabbed my wand and cast Tempest. It's 3 a.m. Might as well get up. I go over to my trunk and click it open. Rummaging through, I find what I was looking for. My photo album. The present that Hagrid gave me in my first year always seemed to calm me, no matter how anxious I am or how panicky I feel. I can just sit by the fire and flick through it. Sometimes I cry, sometimes I don't. It depends on the intensity of my nightmare. It depends on who I see. That night I saw Cedric. He was dead, like all of the participants in my nightmares. They're always dead. So tonight, as I flicked through my collection of photos, I didn't cry. I just smiled at my mom and my dad and little me. I wish I could go back to that moment where everything was simple and my parents were alive. I sit there for a couple hours, leaning against my bed in Grimwood Palace. It's silent. The silence is too deafening, so I put the book back in my trunk and go downstairs. It's now a reasonable hour to be up. My bedroom is on the 3rd floor. It used to be Sirius's room. It still is. I run my fingers over his name. I decided to keep the plaque there, to keep the memories. Not that I have much of them anyway. I walked into the bathroom and turned on the shower. I undress and step in, letting the hot water comfort me as the family that I can't have. My tears seem so small in there. It's the best place to cry. I get out of the shower and pull on my black ripped jeans and my gray polo, just the usual. Pulling my trunk down the stairs, my other hand felt painfully empty. I missed my companion, the owl that had always been there for me when others weren't able to. She held so many memories for me. The day I'd gotten her was the day my life changed, and now she wasn't here to remind me of that blissful time when everything was so simple. Reaching the bottom of the stairs, I dropped my trunk and went into the kitchen. Not bothering to get anything to eat, I looked at the clock. It was 9:30. I had about an hour before I needed to leave. King's Cross was about a 20-minute walk if I walked fast. I pulled my wand out of my pocket and began to clean up. Seeing as I wouldn't be returning for a while, I might as well make it nice for my return. As soon as I was done, I replaced my wand in my pocket and left my house, dragging my trunk along with me. As soon as I arrived at King's Cross, Miss Weasley pulled me into a hug. I felt awkward as she held me in her embrace. Though I longed for a mother figure, I didn't deserve her love. I greeted Ron and Hermione, and we ran into the wall between platforms 9 and 10. Platforms 9 3/4 was also a place filled with emotion. I'd probably spent more time here than I had in the Jersey living room. I said a quick goodbye to the Weasleys and ran onto the train, finding an empty compartment. I lifted my trunk up and nearly dropped it, as I hadn't eaten anything that day and was a bit on the edge. An extra hand caught it and helped me lift it up onto the shelf, reminding me of my first year when Fred had helped me. A painful reminder. Nevertheless, I turned around to thank the helpful person, finding my eyes meeting mercury blue ones. I swallowed. Draco Malfoy was staring back at me. I should really say something soon, or this was going to get extremely awkward. Thanks. He nodded and looked in the compartment hopefully. You're welcome. Can I sit in here? Everywhere else is full. I nodded and pulled his trunk in. To return the favor, I helped him with his. Our eyes linked once more. I laid down and closed my eyes, trying to catch up on the lost sleep that normal people get. I couldn't, so I just laid there with my eyes closed, feeling someone else's staring at me. I opened my eyes and sat up to look out the window. The train lurched forward and left the station. Malfoy had gotten out a book and was writing. No drawing in it. I didn't peg you as an artist, I said, trying to make conversation. I just do it when I'm bored, usually. It's quite therapeutic. I nodded. You should try it sometime. I can't draw. He merely looked back at his drawing. I took that as acknowledgement. I remember Ramus telling me that my dad couldn't draw either, but my mom could. She used to draw him all the time. He told me that he would have to see if he could find any of her old sketches. He never got around to it. Malfoy must have seen my eyes clouding over as he looked at me curiously. "You all right?" he asked. No sign of a sneer whatsoever. He'd changed. Didn't think that would be possible, but he had. "What?" "Yeah, I'm fine." I began to wonder why I kept telling people this, as I was anything but fine. "Okay, just checking. You look like you were about to cry or something." He went back to his drawing. I was just thinking about stuff and everyone. I saw him nod out of the corner of my eye. I turned to face him. His tongue stuck out a bit as he concentrated on his drawing. "Can I see it?" I asked. "What?" He looked up, looking worried. "Your drawing. Can I see it?" He looked like I'd just asked him to kill someone, his face getting more pale than it already was. Sure, why not?" He handed over the sketchbook. I looked down. It was a boy sat on a train, looking out the window, biting his lip. Round glasses, wonky. It was a rough sketch, but I could tell he had talent. "It's good," I said, handing it back. He smiled again, going red this time. I looked out the window again, feeling quite flattered that he'd drawn me. And that is the end of chapter 2. Thank you for tuning in to this story called I Still Think You're Beautiful. Once again, subscribe if you like this story. I will also have other storylines. You can always recommend different stories in the comments. And yeah, just let me know what you think. You can also give me some constructive criticism in the comments if you feel like I could fix anything. All right, have a great day or night or afternoon, whatever time you're living in. Goodbye, ladies, gentlemen, and everything in between.